Hey everyone, welcome to Unique Ways with Thomas Gerard, an audio podcast. Got a really awesome guest on today, and she's described briefly here as creating scroll-stopping campaigns that convert viewers into customers. Please join me in welcoming Greta Costioli. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Are you ready for 20
I'm happy to
questions?
be here.
Yeah,
Yes. Let's get
great,
into it.
cool. Number one, tell me a little bit more about yourself. What do you do?
So I am a former fashion model turned art director. I currently work for an activewear company called Oceans Apart in Berlin, Germany, where I'm based at the moment. But before activewear, I was working in makeup and beauty industries, which I really enjoyed as well. But diving deeper into my expertise, my primary focus involves on-set photography and video art direction, including both e-commerce and campaign photo shoots, creative concept development, and branding, of course. However, my journey to this role stemmed from my background in graphic design, as well as video editing and color grading. Um, and a little background on my nationality. I was born and raised in Lithuania, but I've spent the majority of my adult life working and living in Milan, Italy.
Great, that's great. Just a note for our audience, Greta and I don't know each other until now, but interestingly, our most popular guest is also based in Berlin, Eric Speakerman. So number two, what's a key piece of knowledge that makes you different?
So it's not necessarily a piece of knowledge, but more just my overall approach, I would say, to life and work. And it's humility. I think in today's society, many leaders seem to overlook the importance of humility, a point also emphasized by Adam Grant in his book, Think Again. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. It's a great book. I was fortunate to have been raised by two very powerful women, my grandmother and my mother, who were both very well established and respected in their communities. And especially my grandmother, even though she had many accomplishments she was an activist, a writer, a poet, she always stayed humble. And no matter what, she always stayed humble. And in the workplace, humility is sometimes undervalued, I feel like, or undervalued, but I prioritize it in everything I do. My main rule is to give credit where it's due, which usually means, giving praise and expressing gratitude. In a world that often encourages a cutthroat mentality, I believe it's crucial not to follow that example and instead achieve career success through humility.
Great, I love that. So number three, why this of all things? Why do you do what you do?
I think that art direction combines all the things that I love and do best. I've been working on set since a very young age. I was 14. I was 14 when I first started modeling. So that was a very unique experience for me. And then later during my time in film school, I was going to videography classes, which allowed me to transition to the other side of the camera and gain this fresh outlook on the same productions I was doing as a model. And after that, I got into video post-production and graphic design, which added yet another layer to my understanding. And yeah, having engaged in various roles, let's say throughout the production process, I find that my diverse background really helps my work today. And art direction for me means just embracing all of my past experiences. And I love creating visual identities from the very pictorial guidelines to graphic design guidelines. It's something I really enjoy.
Awesome. Some people struggle with number four, but the question is, what does your future look like?
Yeah, it is a tricky question. I would say that I am a dreamer and I can imagine multiple futures for myself with different scenarios in them, I would say. But I know for a fact that, for example, my husband and my two cats will always be a part of my future. but the rest can change, and I'm okay with it. I feel like I grew to accept the idea of unknown, and it's the nature of life, and it's also the best part about life. It's just you never know what's gonna happen. So yeah.
Number five, we say is unique to this show. And the question is, let's talk about location. How does the notion of place play into what you do?
I really love this question. I love living in different countries. I think it's something that has shaped me the most as a human being. It has made me the person I am today. I've lived in Lithuania, I've lived in Italy, Iceland, Sweden, and right now I live in Germany. But we'll see what's coming next. I always get inspired by different places, and I love relocating. I know that people usually hate moving, but to me, it feels like I can start fresh every time. It's very, very inspiring for my work as well.
I love that. Number six, if you had to start from the beginning, what advice would you give your former younger self?
Um, my former younger self, I would say to not care about what others think about me. I feel like people spend their lives people pleasing and worrying about what others might say about them. Um, and I feel like throughout my life, I've learned that the only opinion that matters is the opinion of my loved ones, and not the people that I don't know. So yeah.
Good stuff. And what's a day in your life like?
So my days vary. Most days I go to the office and have lots of back-to-back meetings and brainstorms. On other days, I'm on set, either working on e-commerce photo shoots or campaign photo shoots. Sometimes I also get to travel for work, which is really cool. So it's nice that I get to work off-site. And just over a month ago, I was actually in South Africa for a big campaign job. So that was really great that my work allows me to do that. And then on some days, I can also work from home, which is really cool as well. I'm a huge fan of remote work. But the part that I love most about my any day is actually just going back home after work to my husband and just relaxing.
Nice. Number eight is around lifelong learning. It's a popular topic. How do you stay up to date?
Yes, it's so important to keep learning throughout your life. You can never stop learning, right? So I try to keep myself up to date through social media, always being on the lookout for the next big thing or the next big tool, especially with AI becoming more and more advanced. I also think that it's important to not overwhelm yourself with information and accept the fact that you will never know everything. I feel like sometimes we're so ambitious and just want to know everything that we forget that it's okay that we're not going to know everything. So yeah, just accepting that is also important.
And nine is tools. What tools do you use? Do you use both digital and analog tools?
Yes, I am. So I would say that I'm definitely a digital nomad. So I use a lot of digital tools. However, I also just love a good old paper and pen for my sketches. But the digital tool I use the most is for sure like Slack. That's where I communicate with my colleagues. But I'd say I live in Google Slides nowadays because that's what I use to present my creative briefs. So yes, Google Workplace is definitely a very helpful tool. But for creatives out there, I highly suggest checking out Miro or Milanote as well. Those are really, really good for like creative brainstorms or creating mood boards and stuff like that.
Halfway number 10, how do you deal with work-life balance?
So I'm still not the best at it, I would say. But I am a little bit more balanced now, I would say, than like 5 years ago. I try to create more boundaries at work, which helps then essentially with work-life balance. And in general, I think this gets better with time. So I feel like, I have to be gentle with myself as well. But as long as I can create those boundaries, then I know that, I will make more time for my private life, sorry.
Nice. And if you weren't doing what you do now, what would you be doing?
Um, I've always been interested in human psychology.
Mm.
So mental health and helping people with their emotions. I feel like that's something very, very interesting to me. I feel like I probably would be doing something with psychology. Yeah.
And what would you not like to do with your career?
I feel like I wouldn't want to not live up to my potential or at least try. I would hate to be the kind of person who just like stops growing or let's say half-asses projects. I feel like I want to and need to excel. And if I don't try, I would just live with guilt and dissatisfaction overall. So I feel like, it's important to live up to your potential or at least try.
Do you have a favorite word, quote, or sentence?
This is a good one. So I think the quote "content is king" by Bill Gates.
Mm.
I'm not sure who, but someone added "but design is queen" to this quote. And yeah, I just couldn't agree more. Like content is king, but design is queen.
Great one. Do you have a least favorite word, quote, or sentence?
No, this can't be done.
Mm. If you had to pick one word to describe yourself, what word would you choose?
I think I would go with dreamer.
What keeps you up at night?
Um, Unfortunately, the things that keep me up at night are mostly negative things, so they're not as exciting to share, but just the current situation in the world or just unjust situations in general. I feel like I'm a very sensitive person, and I tend to overthink as most creative people out there. So yeah, that's that.
Great. And final stretch, number 17. What's a dream you're chasing?
The dream I'm chasing, it's probably harmony, just like overall harmony in my life.
What inspires you?
Places, for sure, like different places, meaning, countries, but also history, I would say history and cinema, and just different art in general.
19. Any advice you'd like to share?
Um, Advice I'd like to share. Well, I feel like I'd love to, I'd love for more people out there to share their stuff. I feel like for the longest time, I was so stuck on just not sharing the things I was doing, just because I was like really, again, kind of like afraid of the judgment or what might people say. I feel like, just share things with others and put yourself out there. It's so important nowadays to put yourself out there.
Great. And 20, the self-promotion. How can our listeners keep tabs on you? What's our call to action?
Well, so I am on Instagram. You can find me at uh, Greta Talks, and I am also on Threads at Greta Talks as well. You can also find me on LinkedIn. My name is Greta Costioli. If you'd like to connect, I'm always on the lookout for creatives to connect with. I think it's important to get inspired by each other, share each other's work with each other. Yeah, that's that.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for being on. I'm super excited about your concepts around place and, that you're in Berlin and we can start to build out this Berlin angle of the podcast. That's something that's super exciting for me. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. It was fun.